Hey y'all, it's young adult and middle grade author Frank Morelli back with the next edition of Tips and Tricks for your National Novel Writing Month story. And the last time we talked, I was trying to help you figure out ways to find inspiration and create ideas so that you can figure out what it is that you're going to write about. What kind of story are you going to create? Well, here you've probably already figured that out, and now it's time to start developing your story. For me, I like to try to create stories that are known as character-driven stories, meaning that the characters and my narrators are at the forefront of the actual story instead of me thinking about the plot line first. The reason I like to do that is because I find that my characters dictate to me what happens in the story. If I know a lot about them and I know the basic idea of what kind of conflicts I want them to face, then I can start to make decisions about how they're going to react to certain things in the story as it goes along. And it winds up kind of writing the story for itself. Now, I usually do have a plot structure, and I have a plan in place, which I'll talk about in another video. But one of the first things I like to do is to try to develop some of my characters. And I like to do that in a couple different ways. First of all, I like to just try to make a list of the types of characters that I'll need. I start with the person who I think is going to tell my story. I oftentimes write in the first person point of view, but I've also written in third person point of view. And either way, you want to have some kind of a main character, somebody who is going to drive the actual plot line for you, somebody who is going to face most of the conflicts. It's important for you to find out who that person is. You can rely on your own experiences to help you figure that out. A lot of times it's a really good idea to rely on things that you already know. Think about the kind of person that you are, or the kind of people that your friends around you are. A lot of times I like to try to meld together basically like a kind of a mold of all the people that I know to try to create different little parts of character quirks that all build up to be this entire character. And once I have a couple of characters on my list, then I can start to test them out. And the best way to test them out, I've found, is to use something called a Proust questionnaire. I learned this when I was taking Masters of Fine Arts classes in creative writing. I'd never done it before, but after doing it, I will never do anything else again. A Proust questionnaire was created by a famous philosopher and thinker and writer named Marcel Proust, who used to go to parties with this questionnaire in hand. It had about 35 questions on it. And just for fun, he would have people at the party take the questionnaire, and he would be able to tell them all kinds of things about their inner personalities just by reading the answers. Well, a few years down the road, he decided that this would be a great idea to use if he was going to create characters for a novel, because it helps you to create authentic human beings in a work that might be fictional. The Proust questionnaire has, again, like 35 questions, and sometimes I find that they're not all relative to the kind of character that I'm creating. So I like to try to mix and match. And what I do is I go through the questionnaire, answering whatever questions I think are relative to my story, as if I am the character. And by doing so, I really get into the character's head. I find out a lot of information about the characters that I never intend to use in the book. But just by knowing about them personally, as if they're real people, it helps me to write them. And I find that after doing these types of things, this Proust questionnaire, and knowing my characters deeply, the decisions that they make during the course of the books I'm writing are more authentic, they feel real, and my characters are developed at a much deeper level. So I would definitely encourage you to try to use that. I use it on my main characters, oftentimes, obviously, if I have a narrator, my protagonist, or if I have any like really important secondary characters that I think might really play into the book in more than just a scene or two. I oftentimes don't do a Proust questionnaire for stock characters, like if, for example, there's a scene in a convenience store where there's a clerk who just happens to check people out at the cash register. A person like that, or a stock character like that, might not be somebody whose internal personality you really need to know. But let's say you have a narrator, and that narrator's brother and sister and parents who are going to be in the story. Often, it's very important to know all about them. So using a Proust questionnaire can really help you. And like I said, think about the idea of making your story a character-driven one, where you don't think of what the events in the story are going to be first, where you first think, who are the people who are going to act in the story, and then start to build events around them. I think if you use some of these tips and tricks, you're going to find that the story you write is going to be deeper, The characters that you create are going to be developed at a higher level, and the readers of your story are going to really enjoy what they read. Good luck, and I hope that you have a great National Novel Writing Month.